among so many of the national heroes that are here today. As a steward, I work at the EU delegation to Nigeria. Now, gender and climate change are key priorities of the European Union, both as political objectives within our union as well as in our external policies, but also as key requirements to achieving the SDGs. Now, the pursuit of gender equality and environmental goals are mutually reinforcing because slow progress on actions for climate change affect the achievement of gender equality and vice versa. That is why the EU is committed to accelerating the implementation of international commitments related to both gender equality and climate change. In particular, we promote a human rights-based approach and a gender-responsive approach to policy and programming. The EU will take measures to address disproportionate impact of environmental degradation, climate change, and disasters on all women and girls, especially those in vulnerable situations. The EU will also further strengthen and support the protection and the role of civil society and human rights defenders, in particular environmental women human rights defenders, for environmental and climate justice. The EU will also work towards removing barriers for strengthening leadership and participation of women and girls and empowering them as agents of change. I'm happy that we have that intergenerational approach today as well, and I'm happy to see that some of our own EU leaders, youth leaders are here present. We have an EU Youth Sounding Board, and some of them are here today. They advise us on our policies, our programming, and making sure that they are youth and gender responsive. So I'm very pleased to see that. And I'm very pleased to see so many other advocates here today in the room. We have common agendas, and we look forward to working together with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I stand on the existing protocol, but also to appreciate our sister. Our sister, very beloved, very happy, loving, and beautiful, Comfort Atlantic. We appreciate you. And I want to appreciate all the things that you have been able to put together during your time here with us in Nigeria. When they talk about climate change, I look back as an undergraduate. I made a field visit to the American University in Cairo. And we visited Amsterdam City, where they farm and they desalt the land, yet they are able to plant apple. They grow apple. And I come back to Nigeria, and I look at the desertification process that is going on. This was as far back as 1990. And they were able to desalt the land. I look at the land in Nigeria. The land is so green. Almost everywhere in Nigeria, you throw anything and it grows. But I see the government of Nigeria, we are watching desertification as if there's nothing with it, which is really amazing. That's part of the promises that the Nigerian government gives. Part of the issues they should be attaching. And so it's amazing to watch the issues of climate change coming down to us, and yet we are not able to approach it. And it goes like that. With the UN, when we went to Beijing, I'm happy to be part of those intergenerational persons as a young person in Beijing in 1995. At that time, we are having intergenerational today. And when we went, 30% of affirmative action was given. And then the Nigerian government came down. I'm happy that the minister is represented by the very able, permanent secretary here. And then they have the national gender policy, which is 35%, meaning that Nigeria was not satisfied with the 30%. And up until now, we are having 6.7% representation. 27 years down the line. Who are we deceiving? And then the National Assembly, when we now say the bills, let's correct the imbalance of decision makers in our population. Because the country is standing on one leg. You fling out the bills through the window. And that's why we are occupying the National Assembly. But we only go on sitting day on days that they are sitting. And also we know that there are other days when Nigerian women are angry because the country has a male parliament 15%, 15 states, you don't have a woman in the house, some of the houses of assembly. Who is deciding the women's issues? And so the issue of climate change, availability of water, the issues of sanitation, it sits a woman wrong. And so, my sister Comfort, as you are moving from this country, you are living at a time that you've ignited something that forces into unity of women across the country. And I can tell you that it's like a snowball. We have intergenerational. Last week I met you and I told you, I've been watching you each time you stand up and you are speaking. I said, but you look like my big sister, Dr. Nyatri Fene. And so I made a promise to you that I'll bring her. You guys have to meet before you leave. It's amazing. Each time she's speaking, I said, this is a replica. I was thinking that while celebrating her 70th birthday, which was in December, she refused on celebrating. I said, I will bring you to surprise her. But that didn't happen. But I'm happy that I brought her today, so that you can look at your older generation, and then you are looking at younger generation. I want to say a big thank you for your visit to the Women at the National Assembly, and you did that twice. You have inspired us, and that inspiration will remain. To the younger ones, I call on all the women here, head to the National Assembly. We are just maintaining our cool at the gate, but we may not hold it for too long, because the National Assembly is ours. We are the ones, Soludo came on board now and said, I have been employed by the Anambra people. We employed the lawmakers, and they need to make laws that represent the 50% of our population. The issue of climate change is real. The issue of IDP is real. And how do you manage yourself when you are upset, when you are thrown off from your home? And so we want to appreciate the UN Women, the generational equality, all of the issues that you have put down, and the UN bodies, and all of the embassies here. If you are doing anything on women, this is the time for women to rise. This is the time for unity of women across board. That if they don't appreciate it, all we need to do, because women account for about 70% of the voters. Anybody who is there that is not aligned, they have a time now to change their decisions. But if they don't change it, the balance is another thing.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's a privilege to be here this evening and to also give this good message. Standing on all existing protocols, I'll just go straight ahead. Dear collaborators, in commemoration of the International Women's Day 2022, with the theme Break the Bias, we have come together this evening under the auspices of the UNWomen to further buttress the call to action in our celebrating gender equality today for sustainable tomorrow. Tomorrow is indeed on the thread due to harsh realities of climate change and humanity. And these harsh realities and impact hits differently on the global south, as well as our women and youth, although she accounts for the smallest share of the global greenhouse gas emissions. The harsh realities posed by climate change is upon us as women and girls, and has led to losses and damages in different areas. Some are repairable, some are not, meaning they're irreparable losses. Loss of lives, loss of livelihood, ecosystem, and damages to health, even much more reproductive health of our women, for which it is only fair for us to seek ways and strategies through which climate justice can be gotten, as well as ways to cushion the adverse impact of climate change on women and youth. For this cause, we have come together as young climate actors and activists to advance a people-centered, rights-based, just, and inclusive approach to address climate change and its impact on women and youth, and also to x-ray young women's contributions and the solutions we also are bringing into these challenges facing humanity and the planet. Dear colleagues, on this note, I wish us all a fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
What we didn't have when we were growing up, which a women's movement conferred on us as we grew older, was confidence. If you didn't see the way she delivered it, as if it was a piece of cake, It took us a while.
Stand on the 60 protocols. to start to mention people's names to show how much I appreciate them, and we end up spending too much time. Number two, I also want to appeal because from the program before me, I'm expected to appear twice. One, representing my minister to give 1 or 2 words to beloved comfort, and 2, to speak on gender equality. So I want to seek your kind permission to combine the 2 appearances. Having said that, therefore, I will spend more than 1 minute or 2. Let me start by saying, comfort, on behalf of my minister, we are grateful to have you. You have been a source of encouragement, motivation. You have been a source of inspiration to the Ministry of Women Affairs in Nigeria. The reality is that within the 3 years we have spent working with and for us, the history of that ministry cannot be complete without letting me go. It's just the truth. So on behalf of my honorable minister, I want to most sincerely thank you. She would have loved to be here to say more of this herself, but as you know, she's currently in the US attending the CSW that all of us are aware of. On my own capacity, let me just say to all of you seated here that comfort is not just a friend, it's not just a colleague, it's not just a country rep of the UNWomen, but she's my teacher, she's my instructor. I was trained a civil engineer and I spent all my career building bridges, roads, dams, and all I knew how to do was construction, design of airports and all that. Suddenly, God helped me and I became a permanent secretary and they posted me in Women Affairs. I said, what? What did I do wrong? Who did I offend? My wife said, hey, my husband in Women Affairs Ministry, my home is finished. But I remember as soon as they introduced me to the young minister, she came visiting her and she called me to introduce me to Comfort. Comfort looked at the expression in my face and she said, don't worry. She followed me to my office and gave me 2 hours lecture on gender, almost your English. And surprisingly, I was to face the Council of Women Affairs in New York the following week. So you can imagine my dilemma. I said, where do I start from? Breed? And the first before we were talking of gender-based violence, sexual abuse. So a man who has been building bridges and roads. She gave me just 2 hours lecture. I got to look, everybody thought I was a professor in Kenya. Thank you very much. You are all be clapping for me each time I speak on gender, and I will soon say 1 or 2 things about it again to you. It is not me. She taught me. Please, can we put our hands together for her, please? Having done that to the first aspect.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me just abide by all the existing protocols and pay my respect and compliment to all of you. I was having a chat with Her Excellency Mrs. Saraki when the young lady was walking up, and you said exactly what we said, with confidence, grace, you're doing better than we are doing, and we're proud of you, the younger generation. And I think we're never here, so we can all share experiences. And I'm wearing red like you, so I can tell you what I do. Thank you very much. Thank you, UNWomen, for putting this together. And I think we've heard the basic things from our sister, Ms. Comfort Lamptey. Climate. Something came to me. Something happened not too long ago. Has to do with Ukraine. Before the war broke out, there's this woman who sent her son to Ukraine to go to school. The guy got there today. He died the next day. 19-year-old chap. What killed him? Climate. The extreme cold, which even he didn't expect. So he died of pneumonia as a result of extreme cold. And that just occurred to me when we're talking about climate. And as we have said, climate change affects women more than men. I think for me, it's important that we're having this conversation. The key thing, what do we do about it?
So I hope that in the conversations, it comes out what happens thereafter. So even land, if it's affected, the women are the poorer ones. So whatever affects us, affects climate change negatively, affects the larger percentage of the population, women, and are the poorer ones. So in having this conversation, I think there should be more information about it, more awareness about it, and most importantly, solutions. So it affects us more. What next? So UN, what will we be doing about that? The partners, what will we be doing about that? Women, what will we be doing about that? And then, as we're even, I think it's getting tougher for women. Whether it's climate, whether it's politics, whether it's raising your children, whether it's economic, it's getting tougher for women. You know, when I was a national assembly a few years ago, I was telling them when I was there we were 27, now they're getting up to that number. And it's going to get tougher for us. So what do we do about that? Politically, economically, climatically, it's getting worse for women. So let's find solutions. But the key solution is what we're doing today, having a conversation, and then working together, talking together, encouraging one another, because whichever way we are women, we are God's best creation. And I wake up every morning thanking God for having the privilege of being born a woman, and we all should too, no matter how hard life becomes. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I look forward to a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
We will stand on the existing protocols, which is one of the most wonderful things about being in Nigeria, is this ability to stand on existing protocols. Good afternoon, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to join UNWomen, 11 lady ambassadors and representatives of the ministers and all the key agencies in the room today. I particularly greet all the activists in the room, all of whom I've known for years and respected for their tenacity. And then, as you can see, I'm looking towards the back of the room, because today is a day for intergenerational dialogue, and I'm looking for the younger generation, because we're really ready for you to bring. It's not about handing over the baton, actually. It's about you joining the table and bringing your skills to the age-old problems and giving us some of the solutions. I'm really happy to be able to stand and thank Comfort Lamptey today, Country Director of UNWomen to Nigeria and the ECOWAS, for your service. I have to start with that, because actually that's why I flew in from Lagos today. Your advocacy for the empowerment of women, gender equality, and the welfare of our girls resonates very deeply with me, and has done so since I made the first cold call to you in 2016, when the Gender Equality and Opportunities Bill had sank like a stone in the 8th National Assembly, and I needed to revive it, and I did think I could do that alone. I wasn't the sponsor of the bill, it was distinguished Senator originally, but I quickly put the Senator wives together, and I reached out to Comfort without knowing you, and you came immediately. And I think that that's why the flame for gender justice continues to burn today. I will only say one word about the recent debacle, which is that I think we have gone beyond protest to putting our foot down firmly. If we do not achieve gender justice before 2023, we will meet them at the polling booth. We gather today at a critical period, and countries are taking urgent actions towards their COVID-19 recovery and their Build Back Better plans. So I do see this as an unprecedented opportunity to put gender equality at the heart of caring for people and caring for our planet. That's what they mean by climate justice. So let's rethink development, let's scale up and accelerate the progress that we have already towards inclusive and green economies with social protection and care at the center. Women and girls are the stewards of our planet, and women and girls have been the center of Wellbeing Foundation Africa's programs ever since we were registered in 2004, and we have not stopped ever since. As a global philanthropic patronage for African intergenerational leadership, in 2015 I endowed the Wellbeing for Women Africa Youth Voices initiative, which published its report in the landmark UNWomen report in 2020. The 239 African youth partners that we gathered under that initiative from 18 countries found that the long-term leadership and governance spaces being dominated primarily by men will have, and have had, as we've seen since then, extreme negative impact to society, and that learned and experienced women are forced to do much more than men have to do to access leadership positions and to influence government discourse. There are limited opportunities to address the gender-based challenges faced by women and girls. So it was in understanding those barriers and working for the health, well-being, safety and investment of women and girls as an essential pillar to advocacy that we also realized that 70% of the world's impoverished people are women. These same women are responsible for gathering and producing food, collecting water, and sourcing fuel for heating and cooking. And climate change makes these tasks more difficult and makes these women and girls more marginalized every single day of their lives. Now, we've established policy and programs which aims to promote gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls in the context of climate change, environmental issues, and disaster risk reduction. In fact, I think you've all been given a copy of our Women, Girls and Gender Development Targets, which we start first within the organization and then move throughout our programming towards the United Nations Sustainable Goals 3, good health and well-being.
Virginia, and also it's a privilege also being among women, because I'm also a strong advocate, and I think that is the inclusion that we're talking about. So I'm included here, and so men are represented even among women, and it's a good work. So thank you. Let me start from the issue of climate change. And when we talk about climate change, we're talking about women inclusion, and that's its loss and damage. And why I approach it from the place of loss and damage is because all of the statistics have it, and women suffer the most from all of the impacts of climate change. We're talking about lives, we're talking about livelihoods, we're talking about health, our culture, our heritage, and all of this as a result of the impact of climate change. And these losses are irreversible, meaning that we need to take action. And how can we take action if those that are impacted by this are not included on the decision table or decision-making table? And that's where we need to make efforts and ensure that it is women that are taking the decision and not other people taking the decision for them. And that is where women inclusion is more vital and important, especially when it comes to us taking decisions and actions as regards to climate change. Of course, I'm leading a project which is aimed at meaningful inclusion of women, youth, and communities, those at the front line of climate change impact, into meaningful action for climate justice. And when we talk of justice, it means that everybody must be included and everybody must be in the decision table. One key thing, of course, that we've been doing and we need to also encourage is solidarity building, especially at the sector level. And solidarity building means that all hands, we need to first go back, take stock of those that are being impacted by this change, and take this decision right at that level and not up at the other level. While we were sitting, I was on a chat with a colleague, and I said most of these meetings, or most of our meetings when we talk about issues of climate change, we go to hotels, take teas and lunch, and then we sit there and then make decisions or speak to issues. But those that are the front line, those that are in the community, need to be at the decision table. And until we take these meetings to those communities, to those places where this impacts or where they are being impacted, then we'll be able to hear the true story won't be able to feel it to act fast the way we should. And I compare that to COVID. The reason why we are acting more on the issue of COVID-19, where over $21 trillion was spent on COVID-19 within a single year, and we are comparing that with 100 billion, which was promised after the Paris Agreement was signed to try and face out the impact of climate change, and we can't get that right. We can spend 21 trillion, of course, following the World Bank and LBB report, to spend that on COVID is because it affects those at the high realm of affairs, but those that are at the grassroots that are being impacted. And so that's where our narrative is changing, because we are bringing inclusiveness and making sure that those at the grassroots are the ones that are on the decision table and are the ones that are included in our activities, in our planning, in our execution, and also making sure that we build that alliance within those grassroots communities, those CBOs, those local women, those local farmers that are within the community, and ensure that they are taking
your fire. With obstacles on the road, you should open fire. I know you're not perfect, so when snide comments come at you, know that you should let them bounce off like water off a dog's feathers. When it comes to being you, no one does it better. Hello girl, I know you know your pain so well. You can spot it right in the dark, but hello girl, you are divine, you wear a halo girl, so do not stay low girl. See, dust is no food for royalty, do not bite it. Self-doubt is a distraction, do not mind it. The chaos is material for a beautiful story, you should write it. Keep your head up high, do not hide it. You, woman, you are deserving, so do not let your self-esteem go sweating. Girl,
wherever you go, and you can always call us, and we will respond in the same way that you have always responded to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And on the UN side, I know that the ILO representative is here, and you also want to join us in saying thank you.
Thank you so much and good afternoon. Comfort, a peace community is not the end, it's the beginning. definitely being working together. Going forward, but after the UN, I see colleagues also from the UN, from the RCOs up here. I want to say to you, thank you so much for forging ahead and really implementing impactful and meaningful initiatives in Nigeria. The work that you have done, I think it speaks for itself. You know, sometimes people say, "Don't tell me what you can do, show me what you have done." I think you have shown us exactly what you laid out. So we want to take this opportunity to say thank you and continue doing the good work. And also, you know, you always remind us, even in UNCTs, about our own responsibilities as well as development agencies to champion gender equality, to mainstream gender equality in our initiatives. And we will always remember your words and your encouragement and the work that you have done in Nigeria as SSs. So thank you so much.
And now hand over to the Senate Chair. We will come to you. The Senate Chair on Women's Committee, who is also leading this fight.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Comfort, a lot has been said about your contributions to the issue of gender equality in Nigeria. It's been very sad today, sad because it has been such a wonderful gift. If the National Assembly of Nigeria passed some of the gender bills, it has been such a wonderful gift to celebrate you because we are you. And additionally, like a confirmation. More confirmation of the understanding of the done. But it's not your fault because you did everything you had to do. But it's just that you have to have an end, bring more biases to know that women really truly matter in this country. And also that I appreciate all the women who stood by each other in the fight to ensure that the National Assembly receives some of those bills. It's not
half of the ladies group ambassadors in Nigeria, about 13 members. I would like to say thank you all. You cheer us. And you make us like brother. Our silent voice is in you because we cannot talk too much here. Yes. We are also advocates. We can advocate in our own right. Me, when I was in politics, before I entered diplomacy, I did women work. And I am the author of Gender Development Board in my province. Thank you. I'd like to share it with you. And this is Miss Clara from Cuba.
Thank you very much. I just want to join what my colleague and sister from Philippines has already said. Comfort, you are proving how much women can do, particularly women from West Africa. Congratulations. Thank you for being with us. Good luck. All the way to you and
Comfort has a lot of things that she does that distinguishes her. Everything everybody has said here today is true. But for staff, she's the one that pushes us, but in a good way. She pushes us to make sure that we achieve. And I want to say very big thank you to you, Comfort. The office will miss you. If for anything, I'm sure that when you leave for some days, the place will be very quiet. You need to have been here some weeks ago. In fact, since last week, you need to see us like a big hive. You know, we're all moving around, you know, doing stuff. She makes sure we're always doing things, and we want to thank you. Until you are managed by a lackadaisical leader, you never know what a visionary leader will do. She's led us. She's made sure that we do work. It is only Nigeria Country Program Office that will do International Women's Month rather than day. You know, you do one day and go and rest. But in UNWomen, you can't stop it. In UNWomen Nigeria, we do work every day of March. We are doing stuff. Community everywhere. I think one of the things Comfort has done for the country office is the level of civility that you brought. And we will not forget that in a long time. I want to say thank you, and we want to wish you all the best as you go to your new place of work. We pray that God will help you to achieve that. Thank you very much.